the lead FBI agent who raided none other than Sean Diddy Combs' private Beverly Hills man, and let me tell you, he didn't need a spotlight. The room went cold. Everyone leaned in because this wasn't TMZ, baby. This was straight up federal. The judge gave the tiniest nod, and the prosecutor, cool as ice but with the weight of the world in his tone, asked, "Agent Monroe, please tell the court what you found in Diddy's hidden vault." And that's when the oxygen left the room. Agent Monroe stared ahead. The silence? Absolutely unbearable. Then he finally spoke, slow, deliberate, like every word weighed a ton. The vault was concealed behind a false wall on the lower level. Biometric clearance required. Not even house staff knew it existed. Gasp. People turned, whispered, clutched pearls. Diddy's legal team? Sweating. Diddy himself, stone cold, hands locked together so tight you could see the blood drain from his knuckles. But honey, that was just the appetizer. Monroe kept going. Inside, we found archives, digital and physical, encrypted drives, classified folders marked with initials, dates. But the real kicker? A pattern. Chilling, methodical pattern. The prosecutor leaned in, biting for the good part. What kind of pattern? Monroe dropped the bomb. Files labeled assets. Inside, contracts, private emails, dirt. And by dirt, I mean blackmail. Personal secrets, audio, video, literal confessions, transcribed, time-stamped, locked up tight like trophies. The room went into shock. Everyone had the same look. How long has this been going on? Then Monroe hit them with this. There was a handwritten log. Famous names, insiders, notes scribbled like paid, still useful, waiting for right time. This wasn't nostalgia, baby. This was control. One woman even gasped out loud. The judge, clearly rattled, raised his gavel, then hesitated, because he felt it too. The storm was only beginning. And then Monroe dropped another bomb. There was another room, locked tighter than the first, required a separate code. Inside, a safe. And what was in it? Not safety gear, honey. It wasn't a panic room. It was a control room. At that point, you could feel the courtroom collectively trying not to scream. People were in shock. Journalists frozen. Legal team sweating bullets. Diddy, still stone, but that poker face cracking. And Monroe wasn't done? Oh no, baby. He leaned in closer and said something that made everyone's spine go stiff. There was a digital folder called Pending Insurance, Level Red. You could hear people inhale like their souls left their bodies. Level Red, y'all. It's not just some fancy name. According to the FBI, that means top tier, career-ending, potentially life-threatening evidence. So what was in it? Dozens of files, videos, secret recordings, fake documents that could ruin lives if they ever went public. One clip, a recording of a major industry executive casually admitting dirt caught on hidden surveillance inside one of Diddy's homes, and they had no idea they were being recorded. No idea. Metadata attached, logs of careers, contract changes, behavior notes. It was a system of control, Monroe said. If someone flipped on him, he had ammo ready and waiting. Gasps, audible gasps. One woman cried. Another juror covered their mouth. Because that wasn't just fear, it was surrender. Like this man knew he was trapped in a cage made of secrets, and the theme? Every single file wasn't just dirt, it was control, leverage, weaponized silence. One clip showed an artist begging to renegotiate a deal. Begging, calm conversation, until Diddy said, "You want freedom? I've got a video of you from Vegas. Keep dreaming." And just like that, silence. Submission. Power reasserted. The prosecutor, clearly rattled, asked the question everyone was too scared to ask. Were there minors involved? Agent Monroe's answer? Careful. We're still investigating. Some files remain encrypted, but what we found already is horrifying. Rewritten contracts, forced collaborations, careers destroyed by nothing more than a whisper. Then Monroe pulled out a USB. Burned, melted, cracked on one side, recovered from behind the wall. 2 files salvaged. One so graphic and criminal it's now sealed. The other, a meeting. 2 industry giants. One still active today. And what were they talking about? The prosecutor, visibly shaken, asked, was it professional? Monroe didn't even blink. Yes. Crafted with precision. Someone with intelligence or psychological ops background helped write this. This wasn't defense. It was counterattack. Then came Legacy Re-Edit. A file with names of journalists, PR firms, media platforms. It included payments made, shell companies used, instructions on which stories to boost, which reporters to groom, which platforms to blacklist. The judge couldn't even hide the horror anymore. And then Monroe locked eyes with the jury and said, this wasn't a man protecting a brand. This was someone who believed he was untouchable. Or someone who built a world where loyalty was bought, silence was forced, and truth was optional. Still think that was the worst of it? Nope. Because then came the envelope. It was small, plain, handwritten on the front, "For my eyes only, B." Inside, a single memory card, and though the contents are now under federal seal, Monroe confirmed what's on that card has already triggered new investigation. It may redefine everything we thought we knew, not just about Mr. Comp, but about the entire industry. The courtroom didn't move. No one even coughed, because at that point, the silence wasn't just disbelief, it was spiritual. And yet, Monroe still wasn't done. Next came the financials. He placed a fat stack of documents on the table, not bank statements. No, these were coded ledgers, complex aliases, digital wallets, offshore accounts, cash-only purchases that traced to luxury property deals, discrete legal settlements, enormous cash withdrawals, and here's the part that took people out. One person, linked to a secret video, was paid $2,100,000, 0 cents through a company in Malta just 4 days after allegedly being forced to sign an NDA. That same person listed in Diddy's index as digestible. Don't agitate. Can you imagine? The courtroom was hanging on by a thread, but Monroe had one more layer to pull back. The briefing books. Dozens of them. Leather-bound, labeled like quarterly business reports, but inside, psychological profiles. Musicians, executives, athletes, influencers. Vulnerabilities, addictions, affairs, debt, family trauma, even medical records and therapy notes. Some of this stuff could only have been obtained illegally. Everything filed, tagged, cross-referenced. The books weren't for self-defense, they were to dismantle people. And yes, there was proof of blackmail. One email showed Diddy's assistant reminding a former partner it'd be unfortunate if that Vegas clip came out, especially while you're in contract talks. At this point, the press had stopped writing. Jurors were pale. Some looked like they'd seen death itself. But Monroe wasn't done. Not yet. He said, "We also found a document labeled New Blood Initiative." People in the gallery stirred, not even knowing what that meant. Monroe explained it was a recruitment system targeting young, hungry artists, rappers, dancers, promising fame, fast money, private parties, but there were no recordings of those parties. Phones were confiscated, NDAs signed, folders opened on each recruit, and Monroe's voice cracked for the first time. "We don't know how many are okay. Some vanished. Some disappeared from the industry. Some can't be found at all." The courtroom fell into grief, literal grief. And Diddy still hadn't moved, jaw clenched, eyes down, broken image, broken man. Monroe shut the folder and said the words that will haunt every person who heard them. "We've only scratched the surface, but one thing is clear. This wasn't about protecting a brand. It was about controlling an industry, one secret, one silence, one soul at a time. And just like that, the vault wasn't just a vault, was a mirror, and no one liked what they saw in it. Just when the room thought they'd heard it all, Agent Monroe sat forward, lowered his voice, and said with the weight of 10 lifetimes, "There was one room we didn't expect to find." Whispers. Instantly, reporters looked at each other like, how much darker can this get? Monroe explained. After noticing inconsistencies in the mansion's blueprints, the FBI brought in ground-penetrating radar. And guess what? There was a sublevel. No visible door, no staircase, just concrete, so they dug. And when they broke through, they found a hidden passage behind the vault. At the bottom, a steel-plated vault within a vault. And the name stamped above the entrance, Sub-Zero. It wasn't a data room. It wasn't cash. It wasn't even files. It was something entirely different. Tools of intimidation, Monroe said. And y'all, it was like something out of a psychological horror movie. Mannequins, not random ones. No, these were life-size, clothed in exact replicas of outfits worn by real artists. Blueprints of homes, printouts, floor plans of recording studios, private residences, even aerial drone maps, simulations, rehearsed conversations, scripts. It looked like a training room, but not for art, for manipulation. A psychological training zone, Monroe said, his voice now completely void of emotion. And it got darker. A projector was playing constant loops, past interviews, public performances, even private footage. Each clip was marked with eerie notes, leverage point, emotional weakness, trigger phrase. Diddy was literally studying people like targets, breaking them down piece by piece, learning how to break them emotionally. Even the assistant district attorney was visibly shaking, hand over mouth. But then came the wall, covered in black and white photographs, dozens. Some had faces scratched out, some were circled. It all had dates. And here's the most terrifying part. Those dates matched public breakdowns, overdoses, mental health crises, and vanished careers. Monroe didn't sugarcoat it. It wasn't coincidence, he said. And then, one final object, a notebook, handwritten in red ink. Dozens of pages, rambling, chilling. But one line repeated over and over. If I control what they fear, I control who they are. That line, written 63 times. The room, lost. It's mine, not with screams, but with pure, suffocating silence. Like people were mourning something they didn't even know died. Diddy wasn't a music mogul anymore. He was a puppeteer, a master manipulator, a ghostwriter of other people's fears. But there was one last turn, the final revelation that made the entire courtroom feel like it had sunk into the floor. Agent Monroe looked up. His voice went quiet, still, dead serious. We reached the turning point of the investigation when we unlocked one final folder. The title? Icarus. The symbolism hit everyone immediately. You know the story. Man flies too close to the sun, falls to his doom. Inside the folder, just one video, 27 minutes long, no edits, time-stamped 2 years ago. The prosecutor's voice cracked. What was on that video? Agent Monroe took a breath, looked him straight in the eyes, and said a confession. You could feel the room stop breathing. Diddy, alone, no crew, no music, no filters, just him.